When I was young, I became deaf in both ears to save Kohen. Later, in order to make his school beauty girlfriend happy, he adjusted my hearing aid before the college entrance examination. And because of this, I missed my dream college. After repeating a year of study, I finally stood at the gate of Tingshui University as I wished. Kohen came to pick me up. He called me, Little Deaf IE, and took the suitcase in my hand skillfully, just like before. Not bad. Little Deaf IE. I knew you could definitely get in. I ignored him. I turned and threw myself into the arms of the man who had just walked out of Tingshui University. Kane stroked my head and said with a smile, "Baby, why are you here early?" The bell rang. The English exam ended. I walked out of the examination room in a daze. This was the last exam. Everyone was chirping and making plans for the summer vacation after the college entrance examination. "Kyla, what are you going to do after the exam?" "Of course, go on a date." Kayla bounced out from behind me and bumped into my shoulder. I staggered a few steps from the impact and was supported by someone nearby. She didn't look back. She just dove into the arms of a boy in front. Her voice was filled with indescribable joy. "Kohen, after the exam, let's go eat Western food. I've wanted to eat at their place for a long time." I looked up and saw Kohen's high-spirited smiling face. The silver-haired teenager leaned against the wall and curled his lips, looking carefree, perhaps noticing my gaze. He glanced at me and then quickly looked away, hugging Kayla and walking out of the school gate. The surroundings were bustling. I took off my hearing aid, and tears couldn't be restrained from welling up in my eyes. In the evening, I went to find Kohen. Someone had tampered with my hearing aid. Throughout the whole day, the hearing aid I was wearing had been adjusted with incorrect parameters. I could hear people's voices but couldn't hear the broadcast clearly. During the English exam, listening was blurry. I panicked and tried hard to identify the sounds, but I still failed. For the 30-point listening section, I was almost guessing blindly. And the people who could touch my hearing aid are only my parents and Kohen. I usually only take off my hearing aid when taking a bath or sleeping. The night before the English exam, Kohen did come to my house. At that time, my father hadn't finished work yet, and my mother had gone out. Under the pretext of looking at my notes, he entered my room. When I came out of the bathroom, he had already left. I guess it was at that time that he touched my hearing aid. But I don't understand why. I sent him a message. At 11:30 at night, I went to find him, but even until 12:30, he still hadn't come home. The anger in my heart grew stronger and stronger. I wished I could directly call the police, arrest him, and let him go to jail. But I couldn't do that. Kohen's father is the savior of our family. When I was very young, my father had a serious illness and needed a lot of money. My mother is illiterate, and I was still in elementary school. In desperation, it was Kohen's father who gave money to treat my father's illness. Not only that, he also brought our family to the city and sponsored my schooling. My father often said that we should repay Kohen's family well. I am also very grateful to them for giving me the opportunity to study and change my destiny. So, whether it was when Kohen called me a little village girl, when I was young and told his friends not to talk to me, or when he deliberately made me be isolated by my classmates in junior high school, I had no complaints. Compared to their kindness, those little malicious acts didn't matter much in my heart. But this time, it was about my future and prospects. He really went too far. The wind in summer night was sticky. I sat on the steps at the entrance of the community and watched cars coming and going. Because I knew that Kohen would attend a classmate gathering today, I deliberately made an appointment for 11:30. He also agreed. But he didn't keep his word. At 1 o'clock in the morning, he drove his supercar and arrived late. The red sports car was as flamboyant as fire. That was his 18th birthday present. Kohen rolled down the car window. The moonlight fell on his silver hair and also illuminated his face full of impatience. "Alora, are you crazy?" I got up and followed the car into the community. Kohen was naughty and deliberately drove sometimes fast and sometimes slow. Later, probably because he found me annoying, he got out of the car and dragged me into it. There was the perfume smell of Kayla left on the car. Fruity. And there was also a hint of alcohol. I hesitated for 2 seconds and asked him, "Did you drink?" He casually held the steering wheel. Yes. I immediately felt restless. Drunk driving is illegal. I want to get out of the car. He sneered a few times. Seeing that I didn't look well, he reached out to touch my head. Surprisingly, there was no sarcasm. Kohen explained in a low voice. I called a designated driver and got off at the entrance of the community when he drove there. The scalding temperature passed from his palm to my scalp. I felt a little nauseous. I wanted to slap his hand away, but I was afraid that he wouldn't doctor properly if he had drunk alcohol. So I endured it all the time. Fortunately, he had always been disgusted with physical contact with me and quickly withdrew his hand. After parking the car in the garage, Kohen got out of the car, went home and took 2 bottles of water, and put one on the table. "What are you doing? Scaring people in the middle of the night?" I looked into his eyes and said word by word, "You touched my hearing aid." "So what? Can't I?" His tone was too natural, without any embarrassment of being caught. It was even extremely indifferent, as if he was saying what to eat today. As if this was a small matter. I clenched my fist tightly and tried my best to control my voice so that it wouldn't tremble too much. "Why?" He took a sip of water and said in a light tone, "For no reason. Kayla said that you always score higher than her in English exams. And she is not happy. Just because of this?" "Yes." Suddenly I couldn't say anything. I never dreamed it was for this reason. Just because of a word from Kayla. Because of a word from his girlfriend. He ruined my dream. I know Kayla doesn't like me. Because Kohen and I were close when we were young. But that was when we were young. After Kohen started to dislike me, I listened to him and never took the initiative to find him again. Kayla is his girlfriend. I understand that she is jealous. But Kohen, he clearly knows how important the college entrance examination is to me. How could he do this? I started to tremble. It was hot in midsummer, but I felt as if I had fallen into an ice cave. A buzzing sound came from my ears. The mechanical sound stimulated my nerves. I heard myself ask him, "Do you know that you are breaking the law?" He bent over and smiled at me. "So what? Little deaf IE. Do you dare to tell others?" Unable to bear it anymore, I raised my hand and slapped him hard. "Kohen, you bastard. The days before the scores are released are always hard to endure. Especially when you have already predicted the outcome. The feeling of waiting for execution becomes even more agonizing. But when the text message notification really came, I looked at the number on it and suddenly burst out laughing. 3 points. Only 3 points short. Just a little bit more. And I could have gone to Tingshui University. Laughing and laughing. Tears once again uncontrollably wet my face. In the afternoon, I went to school to get my graduation certificate. When I arrived at the classroom, everyone else was already there. Just after the college entrance examination, everyone had dyed their hair and crowded in the classroom like a group of little rainbow people. Kohen propped his head with one hand and swiped his phone with the other, chatting with the people next to him intermittently. "Kohen, why haven't I seen sisters come to look for you? We broke up." "What? When did you break up?" He impatiently made a sound. When he spoke, he glanced at me. Too annoying. And not really beautiful. The people around laughed. As expected of Kohen, he dumped the school beauty, just like that. A wave of soreness swelled up in my heart. Kohen didn't seem to like Kayla that much. But he changed my hearing aid, just because of her word. My future, destiny, and life are nothing but playthings for him. A young master, to amuse himself with at any time. Forcing back tears, I flipped through my graduation certificate and then lowered my head to memorize words on my phone. Someone knocked on my desk. I looked up. The monitor Kane was standing next to me. Ars asked us to go to the office. I nodded and got up and went to the office with him. After helping us organize the student materials and chatting with the teacher, Kohen and I went back to the classroom. It was noisy on the way. For the last time at school, everyone was very excited. Before entering the classroom, Kohen handed me a milk candy. I looked at him in confusion. You seem to be in a bad mood. His voice was very soft. I looked up and could see the sunlight falling on him, emitting a fine light. Kohen is good-looking, but not in an aggressive way like Kohen. He is very white and very tall. When looking down at you, his eyelashes are slightly drooping, and his eyes and brows are always smiling. Thank you. I thought for a while and blessed. I just heard Dars say that you are the city's top scorer this year. Congratulations. He smiled and didn't say anything else. After saying goodbye to the teacher and everyone making noise and going home, in the end, only me, Kohen, and Kohen were left in the classroom. I feel uncomfortable when I see Kohen now, and don't want to think about why he hasn't left yet. Carrying my school bag, I greeted Kohen and was about to go home. But he called me. Kohen was smiling. Alora, can I take you home? There was a muffled sound behind me. I looked back and found that Kohen had kicked the desk over. He sat there, staring at Kohen viciously like a fierce ghost. That look was as if Kohen had snatched his treasure. It was extremely inexplicable. Extremely terrifying. I didn't dare to continue watching him go crazy. I pulled Kohen's sleeve and turned and walked quickly. I didn't let go until I walked out of the school gate, feeling embarrassed. I asked him timidly, "Were you not scared?" As soon as the words came out, I regretted it. What are you talking about? It seemed as if I was very familiar with Kohen and was helping him apologize. Kohen shook his head, still with that smile. After a while, just when I thought the topic just now had passed, he spoke again. Does Kohen like you? I quickly shook my head. He hates me. The summer sun was dazzling, and the outdoor temperature was so high that it could melt people. I didn't know why Kohen wanted to take me home, but I was very happy, because I kind of liked him. The top student who has been at the top of the rankings all year round. He is gentle and moderate towards people. On countless evenings tortured by math problems, when I looked up, I could see his serious profile. Kohen, I called him. Which school will you go to? After saying it, I felt a tinge of soreness. No matter what it was, I probably couldn't go anymore. He thought for a while and said, I remember you said that your dream is Tsinghua University? Alora, would you consider repeating a year? I'll wait for you at Tsinghua University. I widened my eyes slightly. Kohen bought 2 bottles of ice water in the nearby store, unscrewed the bottle cap, and handed me one. Sorry. Because I wanted to pay attention to you so much. I went to ask Ars and learned that you didn't perform well this time. Both Ars and I feel very sorry. I know you yearn for Tsinghua University, and think you should realize your dream. So, Alora, do you want to try again? It's like there's a fireworks display in my heart. I stared blankly at his outstretched hand. During this time, my body that had been submerged finally swam out of the water and could catch its breath. When I got home, Mom said that Aunt Cheng asked me to go over for dinner in the evening. I didn't tell Mom and Dad about the hearing aid. First, my family still owes money to the Cheng family. I don't want them to be in a difficult position. Second, Uncle Cheng and Aunt Cheng are very kind to me. I don't want to strain the relationship between the two families for the time being. After thinking about it, I said to Mom, Mom, I want to repeat my senior year of high school. She looked a bit puzzled. Didn't you do well in the exam? What's wrong? I want to go to Tsinghua University. I had considered repeating a year, as Kohen suggested. But ever since my father got better, our family has never accepted money from the Cheng family again. And my father has been doing his best to pay back more money. The high school I attend is the best in the city. In the past, I always relied on excellent grades and used scholarships and the school's tuition waiver policy to study. Repeating a year means having to pay for it myself. This is also the reason why I have been hesitating. The expected opposition didn't come. Mom just smiled and patted my shoulder. Good. Always strive for the best. Our Alora has always been promising. I felt like crying. I held back my tears, said goodbye to Mom, and took a shower. The Chang family lives in the wealthy villa area. In the evening, Uncle Chang sent a car to pick me up. Dad hasn't finished work yet. Mom is afraid that he will be hungry when he comes home at night, so she doesn't plan to go. I got in the car alone. Unexpectedly, Kohen was also in the car. I didn't ask any questions. I just quietly moved my body and tried to get as close to the car door as possible. In the quiet atmosphere, Kohen made a sound. I was startled and leaned closer to the car door again. After that unpleasant parting that night, I haven't seen him again. That slap must have been full of strength. In the darkness, I could see the red mark on his face. Kohen was obviously extremely angry. No one had ever dared to lay a hand on him. This was also the first time I hit him. But for some reason, when he looked down and saw the tears all over my face, he suddenly stopped. I think it might be because I had never cried in front of him before. No matter how much I was bullied and how uncomfortable I was in the past, I would always hold it in, at least cry when I got home. But that day, I really couldn't hold it in. The car drove into the villa area. When Kohen got out of the car, he slammed the door very loudly. I followed behind him, trying to make myself less noticeable. As soon as I entered, Aunt Chang warmly took my hand. Alora, Auntie misses you so much. Today, Auntie asked Aunt Wu to make a lot of your favorite dishes. You must eat more later. I nodded obediently. Hello, Auntie. Long time no see. Sorry to disturb you. We sat on the sofa and chatted. Kohen went upstairs to his room and slammed the door loudly again. Aunt Chang sighed. This kid has been spoiled by me and your uncle. Daughters are so much better. I just smiled. At the dinner table, Uncle Chang asked about my grades. Alora did well in the exam. Although it wasn't as good as her usual performance, it's still good. Have you thought about which school to go to? Aunt Chang agreed. It's a pity to be 3 points short. But you can apply to the same school as Kohen. You two have been friends since childhood and have studied together. Wouldn't it be great to go to college together? She joked with a smile. Auntie has watched you grow up since you were little. Auntie likes you, this girl. When you graduate, you can come back and get married. How wonderful. My heart skipped a beat. I knew there would inevitably be an argument. Sure enough. Before Aunt Chang finished speaking, Kohen threw his bowl. Who wants to get married to this deaf person? Is she worthy? Uncle Chang frowned. Stinky boy. What are you talking about? Didn't Alora become hearing impaired because she saved you? I didn't ask her to save me. Why moral kidnapping? Just because she saved me, I have to marry her? Are you being reasonable? What a mess. Amidst the commotion, I clenched my bowl and tried to keep smiling. Uncle and Auntie, I have decided to repeat a year. The dinner table suddenly became quiet. Kohen looked at me, his expression surprised. I smiled and continued. Since I was a child, I have dreamed of going to Tingshui University. With this result, I am not reconciled. It was Uncle Chang who reacted first. He responded twice and told me to eat more. On the way home, I received the message from Kohen. Are you really going to repeat a year? Why not go to the same school as me? I sighed. Probably because today was really too dramatic and my mind wasn't very clear. I replied to him. Because I am deaf and not worthy of studying in the same school as the young master. He didn't speak anymore. I don't know if he was sneering, thinking that I had self-awareness. Uncle Chang was right. My ears became deaf because I saved Kohen. At that time, our family had just come to the city not long ago. Kohen didn't hate me that much yet. Seeing that I didn't have a beautiful skirt, he would use his pocket money to buy one for me. Knowing that I hadn't eaten fruits, while calling me from the countryside. He would bring me cherries and strawberries. At that time, Kohen liked to put on an arrogant young master attitude. But his pair of wet black eyes would be filled with tears when he saw my father on the hospital bed. So, I never told him that the princess dress he bought was too small. The puff sleeves were short and tight, making me unable to lift my arms. At that time, my feelings for Kohen were very pure. He was the most handsome boy I had ever seen. He was also the person who was best to me besides mom and dad. Therefore, besides being grateful, I also liked him very much. Once, he took me to play with his friends. On the way, they had an argument. Kohen's toy car was thrown away by his friend. He ran to pick it up. Just then, an out-of-control big truck rushed up. The bodyguards didn't have time to react. I, standing on the side, pushed Kohen away, and was hit by the car and thrown a certain distance. It wasn't a big deal. Just that I became deaf in both ears, and couldn't hear anymore. Kohen cried very sadly. He said he swore to be good to me all his life. After I was discharged from the hospital, he made me happy every day, bought me delicious food, and accompanied me to the hospital. That was the best time for our relationship. Aunt Cheng joked that we might as well arrange a baby marriage. I lowered my head shyly and could feel Kohen secretly smiling as he held my hand. Later, his friends found out about this. Kohen's friends were all young masters and ladies from prominent families and had always disliked me from the countryside. At first, they just laughed at Kohen behind his back. Later, they even called him the husband of the little country girl in front of Kohen. They said I was a bumpkin. If Kohen married me, he would also be a bumpkin. Kohen, you are so pitiful. Being pestered by the little country girl. You will also become a rustic person. Kohen blushed and let go of my hand. I stood where I was and watched him run towards those friends, leaving only a back. Later, he didn't come to play with me anymore. Whenever we met, when I wanted to say hello, he would avoid me like the plague and tell me not to get close to him. In elementary school, he called me a country girl like others. In junior high school, he declared that he didn't like me and let others bully me as they pleased. Our relationship got worse and worse. What he hated the most was being tied to me. In August, I started repeating my senior year. I didn't slack off during the summer vacation after the college entrance examination. Therefore, I was still very familiar with the knowledge points of high school. Occasionally, I would receive messages from Kohen on weekends. They were interesting things, interesting experiments, and scenic photos that he saw at Tingshui University. I sent, as beautiful as I imagined. He replied, only an Alora is missing. During breaks from doing practice questions, looking at the photos and words on my phone, I could feel inner peace. Then, I took a deep breath and continued to immerse myself in the sea of questions. During the National Day holiday, Kohen asked me to meet. His hair was longer than before, and the broken hair slightly covered his eyes. I teased him. You are really different from high school. Your new hairstyle is very nice. He was a bit embarrassed and tittied his hair. Really? My roommate said girls like this. We talked a lot. Mostly Kohen was talking. I looked at him and thought, how could this person have so much to say? It was so novel. Will you think I'm showing off by saying these things? I blinked and it took me 2 seconds to understand what he was asking. How could it be? Thank you for telling me. I am confident that I can enjoy them next year. In front of Kohen, I always like to say some witty words. It sounded a bit arrogant. But he nodded seriously. Definitely. While doing practice questions at night, I unexpectedly received a message from Kohen. A picture. It was when Kohen was sending me home, and we were laughing on the road. Kohen's question was direct and uncomfortable. Kohen? Why are you with him? I ignored him. As it turned out, this step was not a good one. Because the next day, he came to find me directly. When I got up in the morning, I rubbed my eyes and went to get breakfast. But I saw someone who shouldn't be there in the living room. Kohen had changed his hair color. But he was still flamboyant. He was sitting on the sofa playing with his phone. When he saw me come out, he raised his eyes lazily. Are you up? Can you answer me now? Why are you with Cain? The intense study made me very irritable. Seeing Kohen at this time made me even angrier. Why should I tell you? If you don't tell me, I will go to Tsinghua University and let everyone know that Cain is a person who likes to steal other people's girlfriends. His words were illogical and speechless. Not to mention whose girlfriend Cain stole from. What does it have to do with him? Kohen. Who I walk with. Kohen. Don't you know in your heart why I am repeating a year? Repeating a year is really tiring. Can you stop affecting me? His movement of about to speak stopped. Making Kohen shut up slightly reduced the annoyance in my heart. I ignored him. Went to the kitchen to get something to eat. And then went back to my room to continue studying. When I came out of the room again, he was gone. I still kept in touch with Cain. It can be said that during the time of repeating a year, besides my parents, he was the only person I was in contact with. Chatting with him daily always made me feel relaxed. Perhaps it was also thanks to him that I didn't have particularly great pressure on repeating a year. In fact, besides him, Kohen didn't know what was wrong recently. He often sent me some messages. But as soon as I saw his name, I got a headache and simply blacklisted him. On New Year's Eve, I received Cain's New Year's blessing at midnight. Happy New Year, little Alora. May all your wishes come true in the new year. I pursed my lips and smiled. Happy New Year, Cain. Be happy every day. Immediately after, he sent a rather random message. Look out the window. I opened the curtain in confusion. This city doesn't have a ban on fireworks. Looking through the window, I could see fireworks blooming in the night sky. But it was very far away. I was just about to reply to him. I see it. The fireworks are beautiful. But suddenly I saw a dark figure downstairs. That figure waved. In the next second, fireworks exploded.